All right, Shalom Israel. Before I start, I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Maharaka Kadash, double honors to the elders and apostles in Israel who rule and teach well, the Akim on the highways and byways, and those pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the brothers and sisters in the truth. Now, one of the brothers sent me an article, which I want to read some of it, because this is something that really affects our community. And it's to deal with, as you can see on the screen, abortion, and our community. Because our sisters, they get a lot of abortions, because we don't see it come up in the media that often, we may not think much of it. But when it comes to the rate of abortions, it's quite high amongst our community. And one thing that we've always done in captivity is reproduce. Look at the account in Egypt. We were reproducing at a rate, and the Egyptians decided us to have crafty counsel against us, basically put us in slavery, but that didn't really reduce our reproduction rate. And that's something that we've always done as a nation, because we are a fruitful people in that respect. It's just that we don't get to enjoy the fruits of our body, which is due to the curses. Now, let me read some of this, and then I'll just bring forth a few scriptures at the end. So it says the effects of abortion on the black community, something which really isn't spoken about. There was something I'd seen a while back. When you compare like murder rates, traffic accidents, all of these other crimes and incidences, if you put the total of deaths together, abortion still outnumber them. And this is like amongst our people. So it says introduction, and this is June 2015. Politicians argue for abortions largely because they do not want to spend the necessary money to feed, clothe, and educate more people. Here, arguments for inconvenience and economic savings take precedent over arguments for human value and human life. So psychiatrists, social workers, and doctors often argue for abortion on the basis that the child will grow up mentally and emotionally scarred. But who of us is complete? If incompleteness were the criteria on for taking life, we would all be dead. It says if you can justify abortion on the basis of emotional incompleteness, then your logic could also lead you to killing for other forms of incompleteness, blindness, crippleness, old age. Yeah, and they don't do that. If they know, they could tell that a child was going to be born blind or crippled, they would not suggest that you abort that child. And a lot of abortions, another stat that I came across, I wish I looked this up previously, but was for the amount of people that are abortions that are carried out for rape is very low, meaning not a lot of these abortions are done because a woman was raped. Majority of these abortions, and this is my own opinion, is down to promiscuity. The sister, because ultimately, the man plays a part where he should make sure that he is protected as they use protection today. But ultimately, the burden falls down to the sister, because you're the one that's going to fall into that situation, of being pregnant. And a lot of it is down to just not just basically sleeping around. That's the basic way to put it. I knew one sister, she has 3 children now, but prior to having these 3 children, she had 3 abortions. Now, after the first and second one, you'd have thought to yourself, well, maybe I should start taking a bit more care, with the person I'm sleeping with, so that I don't get pregnant. So that's why my opinion is that a lot of these abortions are down to sisters just being very promiscuous and not, as they would use today, practicing safe sex. Now it says since the 1973 Roe vs. Wade Supreme Court decision, over 54 million babies have been aborted in centers around the nation. And this abortion is also another way of trying to control us as a population. Because, like I said, we do populate as a people. It says it can be said with certainty that the practice has had a personal, practical, and political effect on communities and citizens, yeah, and mainly our community. Every town, city, ethnicity, and age group has suffered from the tragic effects of this mostly surgical and sometimes medical procedure. The true toll of abortion may remain unknown and immeasurable because the data, for the most part, has not been collected or has been ignored by those responsible for its collection, because they don't want people to really know about the amount of deaths that's being carried out. That's what it boils down to. It says the so-called right of privacy that allow abortion on demand was created by the Supreme Court for women, but for 40 years now, that right has been extended to the abortionists as well. This shroud of privacy enables abortionists to literally get away with murder. You hear that? And because that's what it boils down to. We may not agree with that, but that's what it boils down to. It says, and mayhem as thousands of women are injured each year. Abortion has become the most unregulated industry in the United States because governors, legislators, and attorney generals fail to enforce or write laws that will actually protect women. In addition to a lack of regulation, the ravages Slovakia of choice continue to take a toll on individuals, families, states, and the economic stability of the nation. This report seeks to examine this issue in the hopes that Congress consider investigations to explore the physical, legal, cultural, and economic harm abortion has created in our nation. And they won't do that because, like I said, these abortions mainly is for control of quote unquote the black race. This is why we have such high abortion rate. It says the abortion consumer says disproportionately the leading consumer of the abortionist services is the African American. Yeah, I'll read that again. It says disproportionately the leading consumer of the abortionist services is the African American female. Yeah, this is why I say a lot of this is down to promiscuity. Sisters not really taking responsibility for their own actions when it comes to having sex, with the person who they're sleeping with. Now, it takes two to tango, but like I said, the man, he should play his part to make sure he's not getting that sister pregnant. But ultimately, it falls back to the sister because you're the one that's going to go through that pregnancy. And in some cases, the men may want that child and the sister don't. In other cases, the men don't want nothing to do with it. All they wanted was a good time. And now the sister's left with carrying the can. She don't want to go through that process alone. Hence, we have the solution, which is the abortion, which is not a solution. It says, according to the 2011 abortion surveillance report issued by the Center for Disease Control, Black women make up 14% of the childbearing population. Yeah. Yet obtained 36.2% of reported abortions. So if it's not locking us up in prison, where we make up a certain amount of the population, a low percent, but a very high percentage of the prison population, that's how they target a lot of our males. They target us also by the abortions that our sisters have. And a lot of these songs that the sisters them listen to, to the left, you gotta have a JLB to be with me, and all these other single black women songs, which is, Beyonce, she sings some of these songs, but yet still she's happily married, telling you women to be single. Yeah. So black women have the highest abortion ratio in the country with 474 abortions per 1,000. Bloody hell. Live births. Yeah. Percentages at these levels illustrate that more than 19 million black babies have been aborted since 1973. And this article was 2015, so that's increased now. Yeah, another 8 years down the line, 2023. According to the Department of Public Health of every state that reports abortion by ethnicity, black women disproportionately lead in the numbers. Why? Why? And a lot of these things ain't brought to our sisters. But like I said, my opinion is that a lot of it is just due to carelessness in sex, and that's what this society promotes. And then they push these things in our communities for us to kill ourselves, man. Because, for example, in Mississippi, 79% of abortions are obtained by black women. 79%, sisters, come on. In Washington, D.C., more than 60%. In Georgia, 59.4%. Alabama, 58%. In state after state, similar numbers are found, with black women aborting at 2, 3, or more times their presence in the population. Yeah, going back to that sister I was mentioning, she's got 3 children now, so she's lucky the Most High didn't close up her womb, but she had 3 abortions prior. She's at every income level, black women have higher abortion rates than whites or Hispanics, except for women below the poverty line, where Hispanic women have slightly higher rates than black women, and long and short of it, still Israelites. Yeah, us as Israelites, we have the highest abortion rates. It says the prevalence of abortion facilities within minority communities serves as a major contributor to the rate in which black women obtain abortions, because they put these things in our communities. Yeah, and that was part of Margaret Sanger's plan, whether they want to admit it or not. It says Planned Parenthood targets minority neighborhoods, and it was that brought about by Margaret Sanger. Yeah, and when you look that up, they try to deny it. But why is it such a high rate? It says percentage of Planned Parenthood surgical abortion facilities in minority neighborhoods, and percentage of Planned Parenthood surgical abortion facilities in other neighborhoods. So this is the other neighborhoods. They got 21%, and look at ours. You think that's a coincidence to this high abortion rate? Says accordingly, black women are 5 times more likely to have an abortion than white women. Okay? A recent study released by Protecting Black Life, and some of that as well is down to finances. It says an outreach of Life Issues Institute concluded that 79% of Planned Parenthood's surgical abortion facilities are strategically, Psalms 83, where it says, they've taken Crafty Counsel. That's what this is, Crafty Counsel. It says strategically located within walking distance of African and or Hispanic communities. This study coincides with historical revelations that eugenicists dating to the mid-1900s argue that the most effective way they could advance their agenda would be to concentrate population control facilities within targeted communities. And who are those targeted communities? It says historically, blacks have been the unwitting victims of a hidden racist agenda of those behind abortion and birth control organizations because they believed they were receiving a new civil right choice. Yeah, the independent woman, I don't need a man attitude, to the left. In fact, pro-abortion forces have created messaging that reinforces the notion of abortion as a civil right. As seen in a 2012 meeting of the Congressional Black Caucus and Pro-Choice Caucus on Capitol Hill, these advocates urge their constituents to challenge the pro-life position by accusing them of making the alleged disparity in healthcare for black women worse, Perhaps unknowingly, these black legislators continually damage their political agenda because abortion is destroying their future constituency. Getting tongue-tied, Slacker. It says, I want to go down to the next bit. Negro bar stewards, yeah? It says, a majority of people in Colorado voted for abortion. I think a majority of people in Michigan are for abortion. I think in both cases, well, certainly in Michigan, they will vote for it, abortion, because they think that's what's going to be aborted generally are the little black bar stewards. Says a lot of Republicans used to support family planning, and Richard Nixon signed that first federal planning program into law. There's a clear pathway to win black women's support, and it's to listen to the middle of their party instead of the extreme fringe. Okay. So it says there, you know what we are talking about. As I told you, we talked about it earlier, that a lot of people want to control the Negro bar stewards. We know what we are talking about, population control. We're talking really, and what John Rockefeller really realizes, look, the people in what we call our class control populations, sometimes they'll have a family of 6 or 7 or 8 or 9, but it's an exception. Slack it, Israel, one sec. One sec. Yeah, Slack it. All right. Yeah, where was I now? It says, these are only a few of the sentiments Nixon expressed in 1972, exposing the genesis of his thinking when he announced the conclusions and recommendations of the 1969 Population Control Commission headed by John D. Rockefeller. It was in the spirit of these sentiments that Cecil Richards, president of Planned Parenthood Federation of America, invited the Republican Party to return to its family planning roots. One more bit. There's the racist and eugenic roots of the abortion movement. Then and Now, Sanger's organization has used trusted leaders to convince the black community that abortion as a form of birth control is not only acceptable, but also beneficial to African American culture. These are these sellout leaders. There was another bit I wanted. I believe. The current law does not acknowledge. Says the current law does not acknowledge the rights of the child, however, deeming the product of conception is equivalent to being the property of the mother, and she alone is the arbiter of the child's life or death. Yeah, the Most High is the one. There's something. Let me try and find this bit again. There was some. Yeah, I've probably read it, but you get the gist anyway. Like, these abortions are not very good for us as a people. And it's a good little article my friend sent me. So the cost of abortion is economic impact. Very few think about the cost of abortion other than in the context of the price to get one. Yet the numbers demonstrate there is indeed a price to be paid when the population equivalent to the 39 largest city from New York all the way down to cities the size of Chandler, AZ, have been aborted. Movement for a better America has been sounding the alarm circuit, calculating that I'll probably leave it at that. Yeah, but this is Exodus 20. Exodus 20 and 13. It says, thou shalt not kill. Hebrews that murder. It says, thou shalt not murder. And that's what's happening when, these abortions are being taken place. It's actually a murder of a life. And back in the day, what would our people do? Would pick up the customs of these other nations. Like this is one, Leviticus 18 and 21. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy power. I am the Lord. So we're not passing the seed through the fire, burning our children, which you never know what some people do behind closed doors. But now, the way we're proliferating this is through abortions. We saw the abortion rate that our women keep up. Let's see if I can quickly find that again. The abortion rate. Yeah. Says disproportionately the leading consumer of the abortionist services is in the African American female. Is the African American female. Black women make up 14% of the childbearing population, yet obtain 36.2% of reported abortions. Yeah. So instead of making our seed pass through the fire, now we're going to these abortion clinics doing a similar task, which is basically murdering that child, that life, taking that life. Yeah, this is Leviticus 20 and 2. Again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, to the children of Israel, whosoever he be, the children of Israel, of the strangers that sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto Molech, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. Now, like I said, we're not burning our children, passing them through the fire, but this is another way of killing our child. And if our sisters don't repent of this, that is the judgment. This is Leviticus 20 and 3. It says, and I will set my face against that man and will cut him off from among his people, because he has given of his seed unto Molech to defile my sanctuary and to profane my holy name. And if the people of the land do anyways hide their eyes from the man, when he giveth of his seed unto Molech, and kill him not, then I will set my face against that man and against his family, and will cut him off, and all that go a whoring after him to commit whoredom with Molech from among their people. Why? This is I think it's Leviticus 5 and 1. Yeah. So we're meant to be speaking up about these things. It's lucky. Leviticus 5 and 1. It says, and if a soul sin, abortion is another form of sin, murder. If a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing and is a witness, whether he has seen or known of it, if he do not utter it, then he shall bear his iniquity. So, we're telling our sisters not to go down this route. Yeah, and the best way for you to not go down this route is to not be careless with laying about. It says, thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first. If you're gonna lay down with a man, prove that man first. Don't make him kill it with sweet talk just to get what he wants, and then boom, you're pregnant and you're left with a child which you yourself don't even want. You shouldn't even be so careless in having sex in the first place. Yeah. Let's see. 2 Kings 23 and 10, and he defiled Topheth, which is in the valley of the children of Inon, that no man might make his son or his daughter to pass through the fire to Molech. Actually, Jeremiah 32:35 is they built the high places of Baal, which are in the valley of the son of Hinnom, to cause their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire unto Molech, which I commanded them not, neither came it into my mind that they should do this abomination, to cause Judah to sin. And that's what's happening. These abortion clinics is causing our people to sin. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12 and verse 3, for it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers both those old inhabitants of thy holy land, whom thou hatest for doing most odious works of witchcrafts and wicked sacrifices. That's what these abortion clinics are, sacrifices. And also those merciless murderers of children. You hear that? And also those merciless murderers of children and devourers of men's flesh and the feast of blood. Yeah, so this is a serious thing amongst our people. Our sisters need to really try and sort this out. There's a saying that I've heard: the most dangerous place for a black man is in the womb of a black woman, which at that death rate is a dangerous place, man. But just wanted to bring that out. Like I said, a brother sent me this article. It's not something that our sisters are really told about. So it may seem like a taboo. You think of abortion, you may think a lot of these abortions are down to sisters being raped, but a lot of them ain't down to rape. A lot of them is down to just being careless and sex. But yeah, that's what I wanted to touch. Hopefully the lesson was edifying. With that, I'm going to close out. I'm going to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Maharakah, Kadash, Kwam Nasha Allah.